Vasistha continued, "Even so, Ram, remain in a state of equanimity like King Bhagirath, and, like Sikhidhvaja, having renounced everything, remain unmoved." I shall narrate to you the story of Sikhidhvaja. Pray, listen. Once there were two lovers who were reborn in a later age on account of their divine love for each other. Ram asked, "O sage, how is it possible that the couple who lived together as husband and wife in one age is born again to be husband and wife in a later age?" Vasistha replied, "Such is the subtle nature of the world order, O Ram. Some things appear in abundance, and once again they manifest in abundance. Others are born now, having never been before, and having been now, they are not born again. Others which have been before reappear in the same form now. It is like the waves on the ocean. There are similar ones, and there are dissimilar ones." In the Malva kingdom there was a king named Sikhidhvaja. He was endowed with every kind of royal excellence. He was righteous and noble, courageous and courteous. He lost his father very early in life. Though young, he was able to assert his sovereignty, and he ruled the kingdom assisted by his able ministers. The spring season set in. There was romance in the air. The young king began to dream of a partner. Day and night his heart longed for the beloved. The clever and wise ministers divined the state of their king's heart. They went to the Saurashtra kingdom and sought the hand of a princess for their king. Soon the king Sikhidhvaja married Cudala. Sikhidhvaja and Cudala were so greatly devoted to each other that they were one jiva in two bodies. They shared many common interests, and they played together in the pleasure gardens. Even as the sun sends down his rays to make the lotus unfold, the king showered his beloved with his love and tried to please her in every way. They shared their knowledge and their wisdom with each other, so that both of them became highly learned in all branches of knowledge. Each dwelt in all radiance in the other's heart. In fact, it appeared as if the Lord Vishnu and his consort had come down on earth in order to accomplish a special mission. Vasistha continued, "Thus Sikhidhvaja and Cudala enjoyed themselves for a number of years without a dull moment. No one can arrest the passage of time. Life appears and disappears like a juggler's trick. Pleasure, when pursued, flies beyond reach, even as an arrow which has left the bow. Sorrow preys upon the mind, even as vultures prey upon a carcass. What is there in this world, having attained which the mind is never again subjected to sorrow?" Reflecting thus, the royal couple turned their attention to the study of spiritual texts. So this is quite unusual. Two lovers who are so in love that they can see beyond the limitations of their love. They came to the conclusion that self-knowledge alone can enable one to overcome sorrow. They devoted themselves to self-knowledge with their heart and soul. They resorted to the company of sages of self-knowledge and adored them. They engaged themselves constantly in discussing self-knowledge and in promoting self-knowledge in each other. Having thus constantly contemplated the means of self-knowledge, the Queen began to reflect thus: "Now I see myself and inquire, who am I? How could ignorance of self and delusion arise? The physical body is surely inert, and it is certainly not the self. It is experienced only on account of the movement of thought in the mind. The organs of action are but parts of the body, and hence they too are inert, being parts of the body which is inert. The sense organs are inert too, for they depend upon the mind for their function. I consider even the mind to be inert. The mind thinks and entertains notions, but it is prompted to do so by the intellect, which is a determining agent. Even this intellect, buddhi, is surely inert, for it is directed by the egosense. Even this egosense is inert, for it is conjured up by the jiva, just as a ghost is conjured up by the ignorant child. The jiva is but pure consciousness, clothed, as it were, by the life force, and it dwells in the heart. So this is really quite a good description of self-inquiry. I think for the word inert, you can understand it as not self or as automatic. Everything seems to be of a rather mechanical nature. Even our senses and our feelings. We're like psychological machines. Press my button and I'll react this way. So the body is not the self. The body is a mechanism. So are my limbs and the various working parts of the body. The sense organs also are mechanisms. They're not the self. And even the mind is a mechanism. We like not to think this, we like to think the mind is some kind of autonomous construct. But I often think, consider the difference between a dog and a cat. How would you describe the differences? We clearly assume they're different, we see a huge difference between them, but they've got more that's similar. They're both animals, they've both got 4 legs, they've both got tails, they both got whiskers, they've both got sharp teeth, they've both got fur. What are the actual differences between a cat and a dog? You can even have cats that are bigger than some dogs. So it's not about size. It's generally in their behaviour. There are obviously physical characteristics which are different, but what we really relate to is the different behaviour. Cats and dogs have quite different behaviour from each other. Their personalities are quite different. Dogs do doggy things, cats do catty things. We could probably make a fairly complete list of doggy type behaviour and of cat type behaviour. These are the things which make them up as separate entities. And in the same way you can have human type behaviour. The list would be a lot bigger than it would be for a cat or a dog. But there seems to be certain behaviour which we can characterise as human. And it's pretty well fixed. It doesn't really allow for much variation, just as doggy behaviour is very well fixed, and catty behaviour. We could probably make a complete catalogue of behaviour of different types of being. The psychologists certainly try to do it with human beings, so there is that assumption that human behaviour is of a certain form, a certain mechanism. It's a certain kind of mechanism. So even the mind and the intelligence are inert. Even the whole notion of the personality is inert. So all we've got is this sense of being which is driven by our tendencies, our latent tendencies. And this sense of being is described as dwelling in the heart.